If you're new to exercise and want to get the most out of your squats, not only in terms of muscle activation, but also performance and even knee health and low back health, then it's a good idea to learn how to spread the floor when you're performing your squats. Now, this strategy places more neurological activation onto your gluteal muscles, which helps you to lift more weight while also helping you to avoid the dreaded knee collapse at the same time. And it can even help eliminate lower back pain. So if you want to know why, then stick around and watch this video. What's going on, everyone? Hey, I hope you're doing well. Now we're going to dive right into it here with a squat tip that can be profoundly beneficial for beginners and pros alike. And since squatting is such a fundamental movement pattern both in the gym and in everyday life, pretty much everyone can benefit from it. So whether you're a fitness enthusiast or not, you can still get something profoundly beneficial out of this tip. So let's quickly run through the tip, and then if I'm not asking too much from you, stick around so that you can learn why it can be so immensely helpful. Also, if I'm not asking too much from you, please consider liking this video and subscribing to this channel if this sort of stuff interests you. So whenever you're squatting, you may want to get in the habit of trying to spread the floor apart by using your feet to do so, as if trying to split the floor directly in half between your legs. Now, years ago, I heard it explained to me this way. Now imagine that there's a seam or a crack in the floor directly beneath your legs, and in between that crack there's a $100 bill, and you can only access it by widening the crack by spreading your legs out on the ground. Now, obviously, when squatting on the ground, you can't actually rip the floor in half, but the goal is to push your feet down and away from one another as if trying to do so. And you can do this as aggressively or non-aggressively as you'd like, based on what's best for your own individual needs or personal preference. Regardless of the intensity at which you do this, what you're going to notice when you do this is two distinct sensations. The first thing you're going to feel is your hip muscles really coming to life, and the second thing you're going to feel is the inability for your knees to collapse inwards while doing the squatting movement. And I will also say that this tip works extremely well for individuals who don't seem to feel their gluteal muscles work all that hard or get tired during or after their squats, regardless of whatever type of squats they may be performing. Now, if you're not used to performing this little tip, it might feel a tiny bit unusual at first, but I will tell you that the vast majority of my patients within the clinic and the clients whom I personally train will tell you that this action has immensely helped with their overall squat performance, hip health, and even knee health. And it even helps with their confidence on the overall movement. And before long, it'll feel awkward not to do it. So that's the tip. Now you can perform this floor spreading just on the upwards phase of the squat if you'd like, but I'd personally advocate for getting into the habit of doing it at all times throughout the movement, both when going up from the squat as well as when going down into the squat. Now let's quickly look at what's going on here, and then I'll cut you loose and you can move on to the next YouTube video. So when you spread the floor, what you're primarily feeling here is the big gluteus maximus muscle, the rump muscle that we're all familiar with, lighting up along with the gluteus medius and gluteus minimus muscles underneath, which are also doing the same thing. Now, not everyone realizes this, but the big gluteus maximus muscle, the one that does a lot of the work during the squat by extending or straightening your hips, also has a very significant role in producing hip abduction, or abduction as we sometimes call it, which is the movement that occurs when you lift your leg out to the side. And now the reason why the gluteus maximus muscle, or glute max for short, has the ability to do this hip abduction movement is that half of the glute max actually attaches onto the IT band. And so these particular gluteal fibers, based on their angle of pull, will pull the hip out to the side while also helping to extend the hip at the same time. But what's really cool is that the glute max muscle, regardless of whether it's the fibers that attach onto the IT band or the fibers that attach onto the back of the femur, is innervated by the same nerve. So the more fibers you activate during the movement, the more you essentially neurologically wake up the muscle, which can lead to better muscle contraction and thus better performance and better results with your exercises. And for some people, their nervous system can sometimes get a little bit lazy when it comes to recruiting the glute max as much as it otherwise should when doing a movement such as a squat. And when this happens, other muscles, such as muscles of the lower back, often have to compensate and become a bit overactive, which can in turn lead to tightness or discomfort in the lower back. So by getting a better neurological activation to your glutes, it can actually help to lessen the discomfort or tension that you sometimes feel in your lower back when those muscles are having to make up for what the glutes aren't doing, which we sometimes call having sleepy glutes. And in terms of keeping your knees in a healthy position, this is achieved by greater activation of your tensor fascia lata muscles, often just shortened to the TFL. Now, the TFL muscle has a significant role in controlling the stability of the knee due to it attaching to the IT band, which then runs down the thigh and attaches to the top area of the shin bone. And when it comes to squatting, you always want your knees to stay stacked approximately directly above the second metatarsal or toe of your foot. Now, knees are a hinge joint, meaning they work very well at bending and straightening, but if they're collapsing inwards on a movement such as a squat, which we call a valgus collapse, then it can create unnecessary stress and wear and tear onto the knees. So now that you've learned the tip, give it a try, and whether you try and spread the floor as hard as you possibly can, or even just mildly, you'll make some good things happen. Find what works best for you and have at it. And you'll likely feel more stable with your squat and feel your hip muscles waking up, and even notice some improved power output with your squats. So everyone, keep looking after yourselves, keep looking after one another, keep making all those great things happen, and I will see you in the next video.